Welcome to the Big Ten ACC Challenge, game number 2 of the night. And we welcome you to the University of Virginia here in Charlottesville. John Paul Jones Arena, the 3-3 Wisconsin Badgers and the newly minted 18th ranked Virginia Cavaliers, a perfect 6-0. Mike Cousins, Corey Alexander, so glad to have you with us here tonight. Wisconsin faces its 4th top 25 team. If they want to improve to 4-3, they're going to need a big night from Ethan Happ.
And I'm excited to get to see one of the best players in the country, Ethan Happ, the only major conference player averaging over 18 points a game, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. But it's nothing new to Ethan Happ, who was an all-Big Ten selection, a third-team All-American a year ago, and he's looking forward to having a much more poised junior year this year. However, he's going to be called upon much more so with this young Wisconsin Badgers team.
Well, he's not only their leading scorer at 18 points a game, he's also their leading rebounder. He's also their leading assists man with 22 through 6 games so far this year. Let's take a look at our starting lineups, and they're brought to you tonight by Geico. So Happ leads the charge. 2 freshmen in the lineup. It's the first season for Wisconsin where they've started more than 1 freshman in a given game since 1997-1998. A little bit of a different year this year for Wisconsin, which has gone to 19 straight NCAA tournaments. On the other side for Virginia, a perfect 6-0 for the 2nd straight season. The Cavaliers in game number 7 give you the same starting 5. It's been a consistent group here for Tony Bennett. Well, 9 o'clock here in Charlottesville. That has not deterred the students. That has not deterred the Cavalier fans as well. Pretty packed house here tonight to get game number 7 underway. Ethan Happ in the middle for Wisconsin in the red, and Jack Salt, the big man from New Zealand, and the white, blue, and orange for UVA. And the sophomore Ty Jerome opens things up. His fellow sophomore Kyle Guy with the basketball, the team's leading scorer, 16 points a game. Jerome airballs the runner, and Happ under the basket comes away with it and gives it up for the sophomore point guard Demetric Price.
And that's one of the areas where I'm sure Wisconsin is going to try to exploit. They want to make sure that Ty Jerome doesn't get good looks from 3. But yet they want to try to make Jerome be the guy that has to beat them with tough 2.
Foul goes against Devin Hall underneath the basket for Virginia. Greg Gard, year number 3, 45 and 21, coming off of another Sweet 16 back-to-back after replacing Bo Ryan back in December of 2015. Ford had it in the corner. Shot clock is under 10. That'll be a familiar refrain here tonight. And the freshman Davison loads up for 3. Too much on it. And a foul on the loose ball. That's against the Badgers, their first. And it's on Aleem Ford. Tony Bennett, the head coach here since 2009. The Wisconsin native out of Clintonville. All of 48 years old. Former Wisconsin assistant as well. So a lot of ties between him and this Wisconsin program.
And you hear the crowd get riled up as the shot clock gets lower and lower. And, of course, that's a byproduct of the pace of play that has happened since Tony Bennett has been here at the University of Virginia. A very educated crowd as to how he wants this team to play.
Very nice soft touch with the left hand for Hall, who has the game's first bucket. Guy got beat on the cut to the basket, and Trice gets the Badgers on the board.
And we talk about that defense. That's something that is really disappointing for Tony Bennett. Doesn't want to give up anything easy, especially to a guy like Trice who can get going from outside. You don't want to allow a shooter like him to get an easy one early to get that confidence going.
2-hour practice here at the gym last night for Virginia, and much of the emphasis was on defense and just how deliberate Wisconsin would be in executing its offense. Hall with a step back 3, and he's pure.
And that's where Devin Hall is much improved here in his graduate senior year. at the University of Virginia. Redshirt as a freshman and has continued to get better and better as his career has gone along.
61st straight start for him tonight. Guy, a dangerous three-point shooter, had a mismatch there going up against Happ, the big man.
And you recognize Happ saw that and did not want to give him any space to get off a three.
He was looking for help, didn't get it. And we welcome you to game number 2 of the Big Ten ACC Challenge here tonight. Just underway, almost 3 minutes gone here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Wisconsin off of a three-point try from Davison. Looking to go to 4-3 here tonight as they embrace what has been one of the more difficult schedules in college basketball in the early going. Their 4th top 25 opponent, and it's number 18 Virginia, off to a perfect 6-0 start. Kyle Guy with the cut and the score. Mike Cousins and former Virginia and NBA guard Corey Alexander on hand with you here tonight with the Wahoos opening up an early 5-point lead.
And you get an early look at the development of Kyle Guy and where the progression for his game has gone. Not just a three-point shooter, has to be able to put the basketball on the floor and really be a threat to attack the rim to keep his teams off balance.
Trice rejected by Salt.
Virginia never wants to give up the paint to opposing players. However, Jack Salt coming over, helping out his teammate with a huge block, and more importantly, leaving Wisconsin with only 4 seconds on the shot clock. An opportunity to get off a quality look here underneath the basket.
The Badgers adding a three-point shooter to the floor, bringing in the redshirt sophomore Brevin Pritzel from De Pere, Wisconsin. Virginia adding DeAndre Hunter, the redshirt freshman, former number 72 in the ESPN 100 out of Philadelphia. Guy put inside the arc. Too much on it. Long rebound right to the hands of a waiting Jerome.
But you don't mind that shot for Kyle Guy because he's a young man that has to hunt shots. He can't be passive and not get his opportunities, and has to make Wisconsin make sure they know where he is every time he touches the basketball.
He's getting bumped by Trice and gives it up for Guy. Switch off the screen. It's a mismatch for Guy. On the dribble, he blows right by and delivers.
And the second time in this game that Kyle Guy's been able to show his ability to put the ball on the floor.
That pass, jump ball, stays this end of the floor. Virginia at 6-0. Packed house here. They've got a 7-point lead early going, and the fans love it. Kyle Guy, three-point shooter, on his way to the bucket. Stay with us if you're on ESPNU. The rest of this one's over on ESPN2. This is the ACC on ESPN. Wisconsin and Virginia in a Big Ten ACC Challenge here tonight in front of the packed house in Charlottesville. And we welcome you here in game number 2 of the night. So glad to have you with us. Mike Cousins and the former Virginia great Corey Alexander. We know defense is the calling card for both of these teams. So far, the better defensive showing comes from the hometown Cavs.
Absolutely. They're already holding Wisconsin to 1 for 6 from the field, and Virginia doing a great job helping out others. An easy bucket early in the game, and it seems like they settled in from that standpoint on when you think about just covering up and keeping Wisconsin out of the paint. And when they do get there, Jack Salt coming up with a huge block to get the game started off.
Nice job with the left hand, swatting it away. Last year, leading the country, defensively speaking, for the 3rd time under Tony Bennett. How about the offense so far for Virginia as well? Coming into this one averaging 73 points a game. Now, granted, it's the early season. Numbers can be inflated, deflated either way, but that's the most for a Tony Bennett team so far as well.
And only giving up 52.3 points per game, so the 20-point per game margin has been big for Virginia. They haven't played the competition thus far this year that Wisconsin has played, yet Virginia is playing very good basketball, and a number of guys in different spots that they've been in throughout their career. A good thing for Tony Bennett to see his team getting off to a great start against this good competition.
Here's Nate Reavers with the basketball, 35 in red. Had his red shirt taken off last game Friday night against Milwaukee at the Kohl Center. Guy who they really believe in. There's Trice on the fadeaway. Reavers is thin, 6'10", 215, but has a lot of promise both inside and out.
And Kyle Guys, the young man, is a sophomore that's going to have a big year for Virginia to be successful. On the other side, we just saw a nice bucket by Dimitri Trice, and he's going to be that guy that's really going to have to step it up offensively, especially for Wisconsin. He plays the point guard position, but played heavy minutes last year, and now he's called upon to be much more of an assertive scorer for this year's team.
Last year's sixth man on this Badger squad goes short off front iron. Reavers soaring in to try and get it. And Pat Driscoll, the veteran official, says the ball belongs to Virginia. Mike Eads, Roanoke's own Roger Ayers, and Pat Driscoll, the officials here tonight in Charlottesville.
We got an A-team on hand tonight. You think about this group, you know, it's ACC, Big Ten. Big Ten, ACC, whichever way it is this year, we got to make sure you say it the right way.
I'm going to make sure you say it the right way. Big Ten, ACC.
It's Big Ten, ACC this year. It switches every year for those of you who don't know.
Jerome well off the mark. But yeah, it's a big matchup. You get the big name official.
Absolutely. And you're here. So therefore, with my cousins,
so,
I mean, that means it has to be a big game.
That is a lead balloon to the name factor of this matchup. Reavers, too much, tried to tip it. Volleyballs right into the hands of Isaiah Wilkins.
And Reavers yet to get a college field goal, as you mentioned. Didn't play in the first 5 games, and they were contemplating a red shirt. Played in his last game, was unable to make a shot. Unlike that guy who has already made 3 shots on the evening and has gotten off to a great start.
He led the team from 3-point range last year at 50%. Coming in today, just a hair under that at 48% through 6 games. Davison trying to shake Hunter. Great hedge from Diakite, who swats it away, and it's Virginia with a 3-on-2 advantage. Guy draws a blocking foul on Davison. Well, the Big Ten ACC Challenge has more big games for you. It's Michigan and North Carolina, 7:30 Eastern on Wednesday, followed by Indiana hosting now unanimous #1 Duke. It's part of the 19th annual Big Ten ACC Challenge. Those games on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Now unanimous. Who was getting the other votes before?
Teams that shouldn't have been getting them.
I was about to say, it was hard to say anybody was better than them last week.
Well, Arizona plummeted from #2 out of the poll this week after their defense, among other things, showed that vote was a little bit too high to start the year.
Yeah, going 0-3. The battle for Atlantis. Shocking. Probably one of the biggest stories in college basketball this year so far is to see Arizona go over and struggle the way that they did.
Yeah, they're the first team in 21 years to go from #2 to unranked week to week, with Louisville the last team to do it. Well, Salt finding out just exactly how hard it is to contain Ethan Happ on the baseline one-on-one.
And one of the things that Virginia talked about in practice yesterday was making sure that the bottom side big man in that trap sealed off the baseline so that Happ couldn't get back. That time Happ using his great footwork to beat Jack Salt along the baseline for the easy score.
Nigel Johnson, the graduate transfer from Rutgers, also formerly of K-State. First in the Tony Bennett era. Off the curl, Hunter too much. Right back to happen with the left hand. He is capable right or left. He makes it look easy a lot of the time.
He really does, and you just see his skill and ability to handle the basketball. You're talking about a young man that actually played some point guard in high school and then became a post player during his redshirt year at Wisconsin, but you see how good he is along that baseline and the ability to use his body to score.
Fight for the loose ball. Johnson resets with a fresh shot clock. Guy looking for the feed inside to Salt. Kick ball, and it stays Virginia basketball with 11-12 left in the first half as Wisconsin has cut into the Virginia lead.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by the United States Marine Corps and eBay. Fill your cart with color.
Virginia with a 4-point lead over Wisconsin, trying to give the ACC an early 2-0 mark in the 19th annual Big Ten ACC Challenge. Old friends going up against each other today. Greg Gard and Tony Bennett at Wisconsin and Virginia were assistants together at the University of Wisconsin from 2001 to 2003. And you can see on the right there the Hawaiian shirt. Go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt and jeans on Fridays if you want. Greg Gard says Tony Bennett was always a pretty funny guy when they were together. And when we asked Greg yesterday at their practice what stands out about the seasons they worked together, how about it was the fact that Rob Jeter, the assistant at UNLV, who was married in that picture, him and Tony Bennett were on the scout team the first year they were together because they were down to 7 scholarship players and they had to bring in 3 guys from the track team just to have full practices. And
what was even crazier about that story is Coach Gard told us that Tony Bennett loved to get his shots up but didn't have much interest in defense. Now, how ironic is that? You're talking about a coach, and we mentioned, whose team has led the country in defense 3 times here at Virginia, yet as a player, and I know this about Tony Bennett, he didn't have a lot of interest in the defensive end of the floor.
A prolific 3-point shooter in his day, and yet a decade and a half later, one of the best defensive teams in the country.
And Greg Gard, of course, taking over for Bo Ryan midway between in the 2015-2016 season and doing a great job. 2 back-to-back Sweet 16s already for Coach Gard in his tenure as the head coach at University of Wisconsin.
Speaks very highly to the way they've continued their success in recruiting and developing players. How important is the success of Devin Hall going to be for Virginia this year?
Extremely important, because when you think about what Kyle Guy brings to this team and his ability to shoot the basketball, teams are going to try to take him away, so you're going to need someone else to be able to make plays, whether it's making shots along the 3-point line or getting to the rim. And Devin Hall is more than capable of being able to do that. He's a young man who has to be more aggressive in doing it, but averaging over 11 points per game this year, which is a career high for him so far.
And it was a career high 8 again for him last year as a leading returning scorer coming back here. And he goes over the top again. He's now got back-to-back buckets and a total of 9 for the night. And
already 4 for 4 from the field. He's come out very aggressive and, more importantly, not settling for jump shots but attacking the rim.
Oh, he got a lot of ball early in that one.
But the problem with that is also his second foul. He got one earlier trying to guard the post up. As you see, Devin Hall off the screen and roll, and a left-hander, but does a great job going to the right hand to finish. The problem is Devin Hall now will have to take a seat with 2 fouls here early in this first half.
He was coming off a great game against Rhode Island, the preseason 8-10 favorite in that win in Brooklyn for the preseason NIT title against Jared Terrell. Held him to just 4 for 11 from the floor.
And he's also going to be Virginia's best perimeter defender this year, so he takes on a heavy load. But Devin Hall was a guy that had an opportunity to play behind and play alongside Malcolm Brogdon, so he's seen what a guy can do here at Virginia on both ends of the floor. Malcolm Brogdon, of course, the 2016 ACC Defensive Player of the Year as well as ACC Player of the Year, the first time it's been done in the history of the great conference.
Hunter gets the stick back. A soft double down on the perimeter from Diakite. Ford has his pass intercepted by Johnson. On the run with a shoulder bump. He hangs. Follow doesn't go for Diakite. Now loose ball foul on Wilkins. Our Big Ten ACC Challenge continues Thursday, 7 Eastern on ESPN. This is going to be fantastic. Number 5 Notre Dame, which today with the new AP Top 25 poll jumped 8 spots, takes on number 3 Michigan State, fresh off of winning the victory bracket at the PK80 out in Portland.
And in my opinion, they saved the best for last. That's the game I'm most excited to see. But how about the fact that that will be Michigan State's 3rd ACC opponent that they've played this year? They've lost to Duke in the Champions Classic, beat North Carolina in the victory bracket, as you just mentioned, in the PK80, and now they have Notre Dame, the number 5 team in the country, who just won the Maui Invitational and just now ranked, of course, in the top 5.
And they're rolling. They're winning games by an average of 24 points a night for Mike Bray's team in the early going.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it won't be a 24-point victory in Lansing, though. I'm not saying they can't win. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to be by 24.
Happ turned right into a double team. Nice job by Wilkins to poke it away. Multiple transfers out of the program, helping to bring Johnson in as the grad transfer. And the foul called on Happ. Under the basket, disappointed with that whistle.
And give Diakite a lot of credit for pursuing that offensive rebound. And Virginia's a team that's normally getting back defensively and not allowing you to get transition buckets. But Mamdi Diakite does a great job attacking the offensive board. And I love Kyle Guy coming out being so aggressive. But as you see Diakite getting an angle on Ethan Happ, putting in a first foul on Happ here in the first half.
This is a great matchup here. 2 guys with high motors. Guy guarded by Davison, the freshman. Diakite didn't have the angle for the duck in. Johnson was thinking about it. And a foul underneath.
And you see a little bit of what DeAndre Hunter brings to this Virginia lineup. A young man who's really playing the small forward position right now, but at 6'7", he's able to post up as well. So on the court with Diakite and Wilkins, and he gives him a matchup problem. He's a much bigger size advantage over a guy like Kobe King.
Diakite has done that a couple times. He doesn't have the opportunity for a two-handed board, and so he just serves it back out up top. And now he goes strong under the basket. Too strong, as a matter of fact. An offensive foul on the redshirt sophomore.
And give Reavers a lot of credit for recognizing where he was on the floor and getting his body right in front of Diakite. He saw Diakite lower the shoulder, and the freshman does a great job gaining a possession for his team.
Diakite says that's going to leave probably a bruise on Reavers. There's not a lot of muscle on the frame just yet.
Hey, he's working on it, though. He's working on it. He's in the weight room. Give him credit.
He was in sweatsuits for a sweatsuit for the first 5 games. The skill set, the IQ is there. And certainly the physical part will come along in the ensuing years.
Well, that was the reason that they were considering the red shirt. However, Wisconsin felt as though they needed his ability to shoot the basketball along the perimeter and then more help up front. So therefore, that's the reason why they decided he was going to play.
Fancy move and a quick spin inside for the freshman Kobe King.
And the Wisconsin staff loves this young man, a freshman that they feel like is going to be really good out of La Crosse, Wisconsin, but probably one of the better athletes on the team, and his ability to score really excites these and excites the coaches, but more importantly, guys like Ethan Happ, knowing that he has someone like Kobe King that can make shots from outside.
Wilkins really wanted the foul as he had the size advantage going up against Reavers in the post.
Now this is the interesting part. Seeing Davison really at more of a point guard or a 2-guard posting up, and that's one of the areas we saw Wisconsin practice on last night. They're going to try to take advantage of when they have a guy like Kyle Guy guarding Davison. They think that he's going to be better on the block.
This time a 3-point try. Davison coming in 48% from 3. Looking for the duck in with Salt. He gets rid of it off the double team. And a three-pointer off back rim for Johnson. The lead consistent for Virginia tonight, surging to 8. Reavers unable to slice it to 5. Illegal screen, a little bit too much on the leg extension there from Wilkins. 6:06 left before halftime. Cavaliers up by 8.
"28 teams, 14 matchups,
All kinds of stars.
That's absolutely beautiful.
one challenge. The Big Ten ACC Challenge.
Head coach David Padgett saying the road games might be easier for his team at this point to just get away, get in an atmosphere that's not home court right now. ACC leading 11-5, 2 years split. Some trivia for you, Corey. Best record in the challenge belongs to which school?
Best record in the challenge, you say, on either side.
And your hint is look at today's AP poll.
Okay. Look at today's AP poll. I would say Notre Dame.
Duke, number 1.
Well, I thought that was too easy.
It's early in the season. The difficulty ramps up as we get closer to March.
But see, when you say look at the AP poll, Duke was stagnant. Notre Dame jumped 8 spots. So, I mean, again.
the unanimous number 1 is 16-2 in the Big Ten ACC Challenge. On the other side, Purdue has the best mark, 9-7 out of the Big Ten.
Roger Ayers right on top of that. Mamadi Diakite actually palmed the basketball as he was backing his way down, checking to see if Wisconsin was going to come and trap. Ethan Happ back on the floor for Wisconsin. Be interesting to see how they try to get him involved in the offense. Right here, pick and roll.
Three-pointer is pure from Aleem Ford, but only made 4 of his 14 tries from deep. That one good for the redshirt freshman out of Georgia.
But you know he can make it because he's taking 14. If he was a guy that couldn't make the 3, there's no way he would have 14 three-point field goal attempts because the coach would have sat him long before that for taking that many 3s.
Guy, meanwhile, today has been much more active inside the three-point arc.
He really has, and I like the way he's attacking the paint. And more importantly, he knows that everyone is gearing up to try to run him off of the three-point line. And you can see what he added to his game over the summer and put on some size and strength as well, which allows him to be able to take the bumps on the way to the rim and still be able to get on balance to finish.
Lob for Pritzl. Same spot. And same result for Ford.
See, told you he could make those shots.
He put on 15 pounds in his redshirt freshman year last year.
So I got a trivia question for you.
Oh, no.
Cuzzo.
I'm worried.
How many red shirts between these two teams are there on these two rosters?
Well, I see 5 red shirts on the floor right now.
That's a lot, actually, to be on the floor at one time.
Well, I was just counting the Wisconsin players. They're all wearing red. That was my attempt. Attempt to dodge your question.
Well, that's not the corny joke that you have for me to let it down.
No, I don't know the answer. I'm unsure.
Well, here's the answer. There are actually 13 players who have a red shirt during their career on these two rosters. That's a lot, and that's one of the cultures from both of these two programs is they will use that red shirt to allow guys to develop, assuming that you're going to be better as a 5th year than you are as a 1st year.
Look at you, 5th year, 1st year.
Listen,
who's the Virginia
I'm
guy
University
over
of Virginia educated. I have to use it while I'm here in Charlottesville.
The hometown favorite, Corey Alexander. We got a 4-point game.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Jay, well, you're right. Fourth-ranked opponent in the first 7 games. The only other school this season to have seen 3 top 25 teams is Creighton, which this week just sneaks into the top 25 as the last team in.
I would be more interested to hear what Seth and Jay are going to fight about at halftime.
Who's got the better pocket square is what I want to know.
Oh, man, that's tough right there. I didn't get a chance to see him earlier, so if I had to go out on a limb and guess.
That's actually a 3-man race there.
Oh, Cotter's nice with this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If I had to go on a limb, I'm going with Jay Willard. Just because.
Well, you'll find out 3.5 minutes on the Land Rover halftime report. Salt backing down. Oh, that's unfair.
It's unfair to who?
Both sides. Reaver's doing all he can there.
As you see, Jack Salt, as strong as you get in college basketball, in Reaver's right there, does a great job absorbing the first bump and knowing the second one is coming. Smart play by Reavers. We talked about his basketball IQ, and he's showing a bit of it right now, and he's going to have to show on the offensive end of the floor as Ethan Happ picked up his second foul right before the timeout and probably will miss the remaining 3 minutes. The freshman's going to have to grow up quick.
And just 6 seconds on the shot clock. Trice is going to have to pull. That's a 3-pointer. So now who's your second best scoring option when Happ isn't on the floor? It's a question that's going to have to get answered early here tonight.
I believe it's Trice, but that time it was a very difficult shot for him as the shot clock goes down. I believe they need to get him into a screen and roll a little earlier in the shot clock and give him a chance to operate.
Hunter sends it over the backboard. That's out of bounds and back to Wisconsin. Tomorrow, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, a special edition of the NBA on ESPN. The Nuggets head to Salt Lake to face the Jazz. You can also catch that one live on the ESPN app. Corey Alexander, a former Denver Nugget.
Absolutely, and of course, you know, being that we're doing a Wisconsin game, I've got to give a shout out to my boy, Kenosha's finest. Kenosha's own Nick Van Exel's birthday today. Happy birthday to my man, Nick the Quick. I know him very well, and I know he's in celebrating very well here this evening.
You're going to have a lot of former ACC players in that game. Donovan Mitchell for Utah to a great start at 15 points a game this year. Johnson, soft touch on the floater, and Reavers wins the battle against Salt under the basket. He's held his own in there.
He really has, and he's given Wisconsin quality minutes, especially on the defensive end of the floor and on the boards where they need it. We talked about Virginia and what they've been able to do on the offensive boards early in this game, but Wisconsin has really gotten a hold of that, and Reavers has been a big reason why.
Davison went behind the back, but he was stonewalled by Hunter at 6'7".
And you can tell that Davison and the way that he's played thus far this season got the attention of Tony Bennett and his coaching staff and their scouting report, because they are giving him no space to operate well as long along the three-point line or driving the ball to the basket.
Jerome, that wide open, you leave him a choice. He's going to score from 3 or from short distance.
But a great decision by Todd Jerome there not to hoist up a three-pointer, but try to get an easier one at the 2. Everyone knows he shoots the ball extremely well. He took advantage of the aggressiveness of Wisconsin's defense and got an easy one at the rim.
A tough stretch continues for the Badgers. The 3-3 mark is a little deceptive because in all those 3 losses, they've either been tied or within 2 points with 2 minutes to go down the stretch. But right now they're in danger of their lowest first half point total of the young season, which previously is 26, and they've got 1:02 left here in this one.
And I don't think that there's anyone in college basketball that would be surprised by that. Considering the environment and who they're playing, no one is surprised about a low-scoring game between these two. Of course, the iconic 48-38 game that happened between the two of these programs back in 2013 always comes to mind.
Offensive foul, that's on Trice.
And give Nigel Johnson a lot of credit for moving and getting in front of Trice as Trice lowered his shoulder just a little bit and taking the contact. And also, more importantly, taking a bucket away from Trice.
The best part about that 2013 game, which we can certainly delve into a little bit more in the second half, You had 8 guys in that game between the two teams who have either played in an NBA game or been on an NBA roster. Here's Guy for 3. And Wisconsin will hold here to try and wind down the clock. And the leading scorer in that game was Wisconsin's Josh Gosser with 11. He's working at the University of Wisconsin now. He's not the guy who's in the NBA.
But he can say that night I was better than all those pros.
A guard who develops a floater is a dangerous weapon.
Stop it. Can't stand the floater. Much better with the pull-up jumper. That's a conversation for another night.
1 shot left for UVA. Jerome could pull from anywhere. This one, NBA range. Low scoring as expected between the Cavaliers and the Badgers. 24-20 at the break. We'll send you to the studio here. Coming up, Chris Cotter, Jay Will, and Coach Seth G. Welcome back to the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Game number 2 of the 19th annual event. And it's the ACC trying to go to 2-0 after a Syracuse win over Maryland earlier tonight in the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, New York. Here in Charlottesville, Virginia, it's number 18 Virginia, 24-20 over Wisconsin, with UVA looking to stay undefeated and go to 7-0. The experienced team in the first half coming out a little bit better.
Well, Trice actually was able to get an easy one, and then Virginia tightened up his defense, especially on Ethan Happ, who had 2 successful trips against the post trap, but nowhere near enough. And on the other end of the floor, Kyle Guy was on fire in the first half, but not only from 3, attacking the rim, and then Devin Hall, the only thing that could stop him was foul trouble. 4 for 4 in the first half and 9 points. He and Guy combined for 19 points compared to 10 for Trice and Happ.
Both teams a little bit chilly from 3-point range so far, but for Virginia, it's yet to trail at halftime this year. Coming off of that Friday night win against Rhode Island, 70-55 in Brooklyn in the preseason NIT championship.
And Mike, I hate to tell you this, but when you look at a 24-20 halftime score, what's that have you on pace for?
48-40. That's good. You didn't make me work too hard.
No. I know you got that one. I know you had
times
that.
2.
I know you had that math in you. And Wisconsin coming out, giving up an easy one to Guy to start out the second half, and then a turnover in their first offensive possession. And when you're playing with as many young, inexperienced players as Wisconsin is, that's something that Coach Gard can't be happy about, especially coming out of the locker room. And I'm sure they went over a number of adjustments. So when you get to this point, these 5 minutes are so important is when you get the opportunity to get back on the court.
And half back on the floor. He was limited to just 14 minutes in the first half because of those 2 fouls, and gets the easy bucket.
And that was a great pass by Trice to be able to find Happ through the double team on the pick and roll coverage and got Happ an easy basket.
Interestingly enough, he's trying to extend his range this year, trying to become a little bit more than a guy who shoots it only out to 15 feet. He's taken 4 3-pointers this year, which are the first of his college career.
But he was also clear to tell us that he hasn't made any of them. As we see Jack Salt, who has become a little more of a post presence for Virginia on the block, hasn't taken more than 5 shots in the game so far, yet when he's gotten some opportunities down low, he's been able to take advantage of them.
Wisconsin playing 4 out and 1 in, and the lob too much. Iverson looking for Davison.
And you see Trice manipulating the pick and roll in a late rotation by Isaiah Wilkins. Ethan Happ been able to get an easy bucket. Then Happ playing with 2 fouls, doesn't want to pick up one, and Jack Salt does a great job using the rim to shield Happ as a shot blocker and getting an easy bucket on his end.
Trice gives it up. His dad played at both Butler and Purdue. Done a lot of work with assistant Dean Oliver this year, the former Iowa point guard. Happ gets the one-on-one matchup, backing it down on Salt, and comes away the winner again.
And I'm not sure if Virginia changed their defensive coverage, but that's not something that's supposed to happen. Now, Happ took the ball from the perimeter into the post, but as good as the defender as Jack Salt is, he can't guard Ethan Happ one-on-one on the block.
Not many guys can. Guy curling off the screen. Pure right in the face of Davison. Sixth time this year already that Guy has hit 13 points.
And another blown pick and roll coverage by Virginia gives Happ an easy layup, and I'm sure that's something Tony Bennett's going to have a conversation with his team about the next time they have a timeout, because he doesn't want to give up easy ones to Happ, because you can't allow him to get going, especially be able to get hot, getting easy baskets at the rim.
Nice runner. Jerome off the dribble. Former number 43 player in the ESPN 100 a couple years ago. Happ underneath. That was a beautiful feed. Gets his own rebound. Through a double team. And this time turned away.
Yeah, that's one. When you've got three guys around you, you've got to trust your teammates and get that one out on the perimeter. Allow one of them to take a shot.
So you know there's going to be the post double, but there's also a call they call choke, where the same side, the strong side wing player will come in and just token double down on the post. But
the choke is just to allow post players to feel like they don't have as much room to operate, yet you're still playing one-on-one defense.
Davison, the former high school quarterback, lowers his shoulder. Virginia's got a 5-on-4 opportunity here. Salt just wasn't open. Jerome fortunate to get it back, and still 15 on the shot clock. Elbow J, smooth for Kyle Guy.
And if you're a Virginia fan, you have to love the aggressiveness of Kyle Guy. Not passing up opportunities, and more importantly, putting the ball on the floor and creating shots for himself.
Virginia stretches its lead out to 8. Crowd on its feet in Whoville.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Dos Equis. Stay thirsty. Please enjoy Dos Equis responsibly.
Third time that Virginia and Wisconsin are meeting in the Big Ten ACC Challenge. First was back in 2012 at the Kohl Center in Madison. Joe Harris went off for 22 points, 5 rebounds, part of a 60-54 Virginia win. And then in 2013, the next year, the Badgers pulled out a win. It was not pretty. 48-38. High scorer was Josh Gosser, the glue guy for Wisconsin. Frank Kaminsky had 9. Virginia in this game shot 23%, the 4th lowest in school history. So a big credit to Wisconsin defensively that day.
But look at the names on that list. Kaminsky and Decker for Wisconsin, of course, 2 first-round picks. Then Malcolm Brogdon, NBA Rookie of the Year last year. Joe Harris and Justin Anderson together, all 3 of those guys getting NBA minutes right now, but could not get it done that evening.
Charles Thomas called for the push and a timeout on the floor. Wednesday night, have your TV on ESPN. Starting at 7:30 Eastern, Michigan and number 13 North Carolina. They took a little bit of a drop this week, followed by 9:30 Indiana hosting number 1 Duke. Those games on ESPN and the ESPN app. So Duke is the unanimous number 1 today. They win the motion bracket at the PK 80 in impressive fashion, not because they won by huge point totals, but because they were down by huge point totals and came back to win, first against Texas and then against Florida, down by 17 in that second game.
Well, and their young players grew up in both those games. And you think about the plays, of course, we can talk about Marvin Bagley all night, and we wouldn't be wrong for doing so. But you think about the plays that Gary Trent, Trayvon Duval, and even Wendell Carter playing in foul trouble, what he was able to accomplish. And those young guys just kind of grew up on the fly. And that's the type of confidence for them, which I think can really carry them as the season goes along. I mean, they're going to be extremely dangerous this college basketball season.
We get a foul with 19 on the shot clock here.
Virginia's 21.
And that's on Isaiah Wilkins, his third.
And that's a big foul right there because Wilkins is actually going to have to come sit down. And Isaiah Wilkins is really the glue guy for this Virginia team. Last year when Virginia faltered down the stretch, a lot of that had to do with the fact that Wilkins was sick.
Yeah, the flu.
And they couldn't figure out really what was going on, but he was very lethargic, didn't have the energy, and eventually just had to sit down. But Virginia really fell off at the end of the year because he's a guy that they depend upon so much for not only the leadership, but the intangibles on the court as well.
Playing just 5 minutes in 2 NCAA tournament games, including none against Florida. So Salt comes off the bench. Immediate impact with the board.
And give Virginia credit for what they've been able to do. Davison has struggled. Now, he's a freshman, but of course, Greg Gard talks about him. He's well beyond his years for maturity. But Virginia knew how important he was for this team to be successful, and they have pretty much shut him out here this entire evening.
He's 0 for 4 from deep, and Guy, just missing that one, is 1 for 5. So an uncharacteristic night from three-point range for both guys.
But Guy has gotten it done inside the paint, where Davison really hasn't been able to get much going at all.
6 for 10 from two-point range tonight for Guy. Diakite started with the post-up, read the defender. He says, freshman, I'm taking this one.
Well, and when you look at Virginia and you watch what their players on the front line, Jack Salt is a great rebounder defender. Isaiah Wilkins, we talked about, is the glue guy, but the best offensive player of that bunch is Mamadi Diakite, and you got just a glimpse of what he's capable of doing on the offensive end of the floor.
Last couple of possessions, Wisconsin had to settle for long jumpers. Seven minutes gone, second half. The lead is 10. Badgers right now shooting 33% and just 15% from three. 2 for 13. That's a long two. No good. Over the back foul against Wisconsin.
And this was the area of concern for Wisconsin coming into this season. Other than Ethan Happ, who could Greg Gard depend upon to be able to score against good teams, against good defense? And when you're playing against Virginia, it doesn't get any better defensively. And right now, Virginia has been able to hold Wisconsin down. Other than Aleem Ford knocking down those 2 threes, they've kept Wisconsin in check from beyond the arc.
Happ in the post, just trying to stay in front of Salt. Make himself available as a help side defender. Not necessary that time.
And Devin Hall's done a great job going to his right hand. We mentioned the first half. He's a left-hander, but very good around the basket, using both hands to be able to finish over the defense.
Happ in disbelief. Succumb to the trap.
Mike, how many places will you go to watch a college basketball game and you get a larger ovation for a defensive stop?
For a well-executed post trap.
Than you do even for a three or a dunk.
There's a lot of basketball coaches at home smiling after that possession.
Well, this is good college basketball, and again, it's not always the best to watch, except when you see Jack Salt going above the rim to be able to finish it off. Devin Hall getting it done in so many different areas for the Virginia Cavaliers. Whether it's scoring or dishing, the senior is carrying the hoop.
"28 teams, 14 matchups,
all kinds of stars."
That's absolutely beautiful.
One challenge. The Big Ten ACC Challenge.
ESPN's BPI gives the ACC the edge coming into the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Right now, a 1-0 advantage. Virginia trying to make it 2-0. 50.4% is the number right now for the ACC, with the slight edge over the Big Ten. I know you're excited about Notre Dame, Michigan State. What do you make of North Carolina as they fall to number 13 this week?
Well, North Carolina is replacing a lot. I don't think people really take into consideration that they're replacing Kennedy Meeks, Isaiah Hicks, and Tony Bradley up front. And even more importantly, the ACC Player of the Year in Justin Jackson. So those four guys did a lot for North Carolina, especially on the offensive end of the floor. And right now, they're trying to figure out, how do you replace that type of production?
Johnson with the steal and a nice swat. Iverson trailing the play, and his hustle makes up for the turnover.
As a coach, you love for your guys to get back on defense, but more importantly, after a turnover, not allowing for that to turn into points for the other end for the opposing team. So give Iverson a lot of credit for hustling back. And right now, of course, you're at danger time if you're Wisconsin. Virginia's a team, when they build a 14-point lead, it's very difficult to get back into it because they don't turn the ball over very much. Wisconsin's going to have to find a way to knock down some threes at this point. And more importantly, they're going to have to try to find a way to turn Virginia over, which is difficult to do.
Wisconsin's just 2 of 13 from deep. The offensive strategy has been pretty clear. When they've got Reavers up against a post player, try and feed it in there and just let him go to work. The best outcome he's had today was taking the charge against Salt earlier.
Yeah, but he's held his own now, especially on the defensive end of the floor. Right there, a great defensive stand against Mamdi Diakite, who has shown that he's capable of scoring on the low post.
Reavers turns it over off of Salt's left hand.
And that's the one area of the floor that no coach wants you to be able to make an entry pass right in the middle, because it's so easy for a post player to score over there in front of the basket, and Diakite doing a great job fighting around Hat.
Hall with a pump fake. That's beautiful execution.
I would like to chart how many times Devin Hall has scored with his right hand today in comparison to his left hand, which is his dominant hand, especially when he's attacking the rim.
Graduate student in the School of Education has been giving lessons today to the Wisconsin defense. 42-26, near the midway mark of the second half. Reavers now 0 for 10 from the floor in his very short college career, a game and a half. Guy with a good look from 3. Salt could have gone and put that one back up. He says, you know what, we got the lead, we got the clock, let's draw it out.
And more importantly, kill more time off of the shot clock and get a quality look. And of course, just because we talk about it, Virginia turns it over.
That's a bad two-play sequence there for Kyle Guy. A turnover followed by a foul, his first. A new look for him aesthetically this year, with the hair getting a trim.
I got a chance to be around him this summer, and the first time I saw him without the famous, not infamous, but famous man bun, it threw me for a loop there for a second. But you know, he wanted to be known for his play. Everywhere he went, everyone was talking about the man bun, and everyone talked about his hair, and it really raised a lot of ire of opposing fans, and he wanted to be known more so for his play than his hair, and he really has done that here so far in his second season.
Diakite brings the double team. Wisconsin trying to make the extra pass. It ends up with Davison, and he cans the three-pointer, just the third of the night for Wisconsin, and his first of the day on 5 tries.
So off of the turnover, Wisconsin's able to knock down a three-point. That's a recipe to be able to get back into this game, but I'm not sure Virginia's going to give them many more of those opportunities.
Hall with a hand in his face. Diakite was swarming in, trying to swat that one to the perimeter again. And the foul goes on Aleem Ford, number 2 on the redshirt freshman for Wisconsin.
And that's something that became popular in the NBA a few years ago, where elite rebounders, if they couldn't get it, would just smack it back out to give their teammates an opportunity to come up with the rebound. Normally, their guys aren't crashing the board, where Wisconsin has 5 guys underneath the basket trying to come up with the rebound. But Diakite really just showing off his will to go get the basketball and his athleticism to be able to get his hands on so many opportunities at the rim.
Jerome steps into a 3. Halfway down, going for the one-handed board, and Salt comes up with it. It's hustle play like that, even if you're not a high scorer. That's going to earn you more minutes from Tony Bennett.
And that's really been the difference here for Virginia, what they've been able to do on the offensive glass in comparison to Wisconsin, who's normally a great rebounding team.
Happ just trying to help make something happen here.
And this is the point now for a guy like Ethan Happ, for as good as he is, he can't settle and really allow the offense to run. He's got to become more aggressive on the offensive end of the floor and start to try to make plays on his own.
Well, he's the team leader in assists. Showing good vision there.
And it's tough to do that when there's going to be 2 guys guarding you. But even still, Ethan Happ at this point is going to have to take a couple selfish shots and really try to put his foot on the pedal to get his offense going, because they have struggled with everyone else.
He's got 10 of their 29. Wahoo's in control. All right, Corey Alexander, let's go inside the play here, this Virginia defense.
Well, one of the things that Tony Bennett has made extremely popular with the Virginia defense is the post trap. And you see Ethan Happ, when he catches the basketball, because he's so good, he garners the post trap. But it's always going to be with 2 bigs. And right there you see Happ coming up with the turnover, getting to the baseline, but yet Isaiah Wilkins never leaves the trap. So Virginia does a great job of taking opposing big men out of the game, not allowing them really to have much freedom to move, especially along the baseline, and forces other players to have to beat them. And tonight, Wisconsin really just hasn't had anyone else step up offensively that can beat Virginia.
One of the biggest coaching points for Virginia yesterday in practice about Happ was to get up on him, but not press your body up against him one-on-one, because he's so quick and makes the read fast enough. He can spin right around you and get to the basket, as he has a couple times tonight. So it's Jerome who leads the show here as Guy gets a rest for Virginia. Reaching foul on King. That's number 3 on the freshman from Wisconsin.
Foul on Wisconsin is 23, Kobe King. His 3rd, team's 4th.
Number 18, Virginia, with a 42-29 lead here over Wisconsin in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, year number 19. And a win here would give the ACC a 2-0 advantage over the Big Ten after Syracuse opened up with a win earlier tonight at home in the Carrier Dome. Mike Cousins, Corey Alexander, the former Virginia great, here with you as Virginia is up 6 wins, no losses to start the year. And Wisconsin, a team in transition at 3-3 coming in here, faces its 4th top 25 opponent in its first 7 games.
And Wisconsin having to go with what can be considered for them a smaller lineup with 4 playing the 4 position. And Virginia is getting their hands on so many offensive rebound opportunities. Every time the ball goes up on the basket for Virginia, they have a better beat on it than Wisconsin even does as a defensive rebound.
Hunter lets it fly, and the rebound to Pritzel, who's a good 3-point shooter. So there's a number of 3-point threats on the floor right now. You've got Davison, Ford, Pritzel, and Happ on the inside, trying to get himself open against Salt. That's a physical contest there. He doesn't get a touch in the post.
It really is, and I know that Kobe King is capable of knocking down the 3, but that's one where you got to allow Ethan Happ to get his hands on the basketball. It can go inside first. You can take the 3 if he throws it back out, but Happ has to get the basketball in that possession after all he did to try to get open.
Davison, reverse layup on the baseline, puts it in. Just 5 points for him after his first 6 games. He saw his scoring go up in every game, coming off a 19-point performance on Friday night against Milwaukee.
And again, Tony Bennett, his staff saw that as well and understood how important he was to this team. And if he was having his normal production, then you're talking about this being a very competitive game. But right now, Virginia been in control, but lost a little bit of his luster here recently, unable to make a shot. But there goes Jack Salt once again, coming up with another offensive rebound for the Wahoo.
Corey, can you tell me, I think a lot of people will see Davison try and dive for that ball and say, great hustle play. But what I saw was it led to an open shot.
It really did. And again, I won't call it fake hustle from him because he really thought he had a chance to be able to get to it. But coaches don't necessarily like those type of plays because it does take you out of position.
Dangerous situation under the basket there as Salt got somersaulted and ended up landing on top of Isaiah Wilkins. Quick to get up.
As you see, the shot goes up and Happ comes up with the rebound, but Jack Salt, the leg whip coming through and catching Isaiah Wilkins right upside the head. That's one of the things about Jack Salt since he's been here at the University of Virginia. His teammates will talk about the fact that whether you're playing against him or on his team in practice, he will still hurt you. It doesn't matter. He doesn't discriminate against his teammates or the opposing team. Anyone is subject to the long arm of the law when it comes to Jack Salt.
Ford looking for the three-pointer, and after the foul on Salt at the other end, he picks up yet another one. That's his third. He's become a very reliable guy after spending a lot of time at the far end of the bench for Tony Bennett. Today, getting his 41st straight start, and a nice round of applause here as he takes a seat.
And he's another one of those guys who actually did a redshirt year, and Ethan Happ has to be the happiest guy in the building right now that Jack Salt is on the bench. Not that Mamadi Diakite is an easy win, but he's not going to take the physical punishment.
And we get another foul on the drive. So Davison going down, holding his shoulder, and this is not the first time that he's had a shoulder injury this year. Earlier this season against Baylor, he had a shoulder injury on a collision under the basket. So he gets helped up there.
And you see Davison going to the rim, and it's that left shoulder that takes the contact. And he's going immediately to the locker room, and that's because he's been through this before. And their training staff has already recognized the issue with that left shoulder as we look back to the game against Baylor.
Same shoulder.
Same shoulder coming in. And you see, as you get an opportunity to look at him, he has a confused look on his face. He's never felt that before.
But this is a guy who Greg Gard praised for his toughness, especially the fact that he's a former high school quarterback, really likes his leadership ability and his toughness.
And Roger Ayers came over and told us that they had already picked a shooter for Davison, but Davison, who had gone back off the court, but Davison comes back onto the court now, wants to shoot his free throws and stay in the game. So it's going to be interesting as our officials talk about whether he can be back in the game or not, because he walked off. And as he walked off, you see the trainer working with Davidson, and just like that, he's ready to go. And Coach Gard talked about his toughness and how important he was to this team with his intangibles, and you just get an opportunity to see a bit of it. I don't believe he's going to be able to shoot these free throws because he did have to step off. We're going to see free throws from Ethan Happ.
Mike Eads just came over to give the explanation because it was a common foul on the floor. Virginia gets to choose who the free throw shooter is, and so the obvious choice is the guy who's shooting 56% coming into the game. It's Ethan Happ.
And he makes good on both of them with his newfound free throw shooting. And there's something going on with Isaiah Wilkins. I believe he may have blood on him, as the officials call the timeout to make sure he's going over to the Ethan Saliba, and I believe that's exactly what it is the trainer Ethan Saliba gets an opportunity to wipe off the blood. off the tattoo, though, of course, you got to make sure, you got a good look at
the Taz?
That is the Tasmanian Devil. If you're going to get a tattoo, you got to get one like that.
That's bold.
Absolutely.
Nobody's getting a Daffy Duck tattoo, right?
Why not?
Taz is scary. Daffy Duck isn't. So all of a sudden, 4:50 to go. It's 42-33 after Hap bangs home a couple of free throws. He was only 50% last year, so actually improved so far this year. Virginia is 0 for its last 10 and scoreless in the last 5.5 minutes.
And anyone that follows college basketball knows that this Virginia team, this Virginia program has been known for its scoring lapses as well. So therefore, with Wisconsin, and when they were down 14, they didn't feel like as though they were out of the game. And now you get another turnover for Virginia. Diakite, instead of going straight up, travels with the basketball, and now you give Wisconsin an opportunity to jump right back into this game. And just like that, Tony Bennett, not happy with the way things are going, inserts Jack Salt right back into the lineup.
Diakite, who turned it over, was spelling Salt, trying to guard Hap. Full front on Hap in the post.
And this is where Hap has to get it, and now someone can get open for an easy look.
Beautiful recognition. Trice unable to finish. Hap was triple teamed, and now he goes in for a jump ball. Wisconsin keeps it.
A smart play by Ethan Hap there. Was frustrated with himself because of the turnover, but didn't allow himself to put his head down. Does a great job seeing Ty Jerome with the ball exposed, gets his hand on it, and ties it up, the game possession back for his team.
And Corey, we saw earlier in the game when Hap got double teamed and wasn't able to find an open teammate, the one guy he didn't find was the teammate in the corner. He adjusted and made that right pass this time.
And that's what Greg Gard did at halftime. It basically went in and showed him that this is where you need to be looking. Virginia takes away all the easy passing angles out of the post trap. So then it's up to the player to be able to find the spot where he can get the basketball.
Guy back out for Hall for three. He got it. Foul number 4 on Virginia's Jack Salt. 4 out, 1 in for Wisconsin, looking for number 22, but the big number for UVA is 3. Hall drills it, 45-33. Number 18, Virginia here at home, up 45-33 over Wisconsin. We welcome you back to Charlottesville, and JPJ, Mike Cousins, and the former Virginia standout Corey Alexander. Thanks for being here with us tonight. What we see now here is Wisconsin tries to make it a comeback. If Ethan Hap's not going to score, he passes out of the post. They've got to have a second score.
And that was the concern coming in for Wisconsin, and who could be that guy? We thought it would be Brian Davison. Davison has struggled to shoot the ball from the perimeter, but give Virginia's defense a lot of credit for being able to take away what Wisconsin does well and relying on that three-point shot.
Wisconsin 3 of 18 from deep. Into a timeout. It was a foul on Jack Salt, who is on the bench right now with 4 fouls for the Cavaliers with 3:24 to go as Hap takes it in. That's a three-point shooter. Had the ball go right through his hands. Ford turns it over.
And you see Ethan Hap trying to instruct his team. And one of the things that he's talked about throughout this year is he has to be more of a leader to this group, as we see Wisconsin now setting up in a 94-foot full-court pressure to see if they can turn Virginia over. And throughout the Tony Bennett era, Virginia at times has been susceptible to not playing very well against pressure. So we'll see how they handle it here over these last 3 minutes.
And Jerome was quick to get away from it there. Later tonight, Scott Van Pelt will have Dabo Swinney live on the eve of the latest rankings announcement. Clemson poised to make another college football playoff run. Plus a breakdown of the AFC playoff race and a Monday staple, bad beats from across the sports world. That's tonight, 11:30 Eastern, after Monday Night Football over on ESPN. Also streaming live on the ESPN app. You can stick around for SportsCenter. College football playoff rankings coming out tomorrow night. Wisconsin fans rubbing their hands together saying, all right, undefeated. Where are we going to be in the top 4?
Well, they definitely should be in the top 4. No question about that. With the undefeated season so far, but of course still with the Big Ten championship game, there's a lot riding on this next Saturday of college football.
It will be a big boost to their resume to get a win against Ohio State on Saturday in Indianapolis. Here's Hall, who just drilled a big 3 to extend the advantage for Virginia. All in the hands of the redshirt senior. Turnover and a foul. That's number 2 on Jerome.
And that's going to put Davison at the line with an opportunity to put 2 points on the board without time going off the clock. 45-33. Right now, 3 minutes remaining in this game. Wisconsin not out of it by any stretch. But they're going to have to take advantage of those opportunities when they get them. Can't walk away with empty possessions.
You think about it here, if Virginia takes each possession down inside of 10 seconds and gets off a shot, you got just a handful of possessions left in this game.
You know, and I'm watching Davison. He's favoring that left shoulder, no question about it. You see him get involved there. Another steal for Davison, but if you get a look at him, this young man is playing in pain. He's favoring. You see he's not moving that left arm very much at all. And Greg Gard doing the right thing, actually getting Davison out of the game. This young man is playing through pain. He understands his toughness and his level of competitiveness, but right now he's hurt.
2:35 left here in Charlottesville. Ford was set up for a 3, and that's another turnover here within 5 minutes left to play for Ford. He lost it out of bounds and walked with it.
And turnovers, of course, can hurt you against anyone, but against Virginia, when you play a game where there's so very few possessions, you can't give them away, especially when you're down big and trying to find a way to come back into this game. 2 straight opportunities where Wisconsin comes away with empty possessions.
In this type of situation for Virginia, who do you think Tony Bennett trusts the most with the ball?
Well, honestly, I believe that when you look at it from the free throw standpoint, Devin Hall is shooting 90% on the year, 20 for 21. And with the fact that he's been through the battle so much, I believe he would be the guy. But, of course, Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy, both those guys great free throw shooters as well. I'm sure he's pretty comfortable with their hands on the basketball.
Trice fighting his way to the rim. He'll shoot a couple with 1:52 to go.
And again, Wisconsin has held Virginia, but they have to find a way to put some points on the board. We had this same conversation with 3 minutes and 10 seconds left in the game. Now it's 1:52. Wisconsin at the line again, 2 shots to try to make this a 10-point game, which is a big comeback against this Virginia team so late in the game. Now Wisconsin has the opportunity to set up their full court pressure, which has been relatively effective against Virginia so far. See if they could come away with another turnover or maybe even force a quick shot, which doesn't happen often from the Wahoos.
It's got to be a good early sign tonight. Virginia hangs on to win this game. That even with a much younger team, this is the first time ever in 12 years as a head coach that Tony Bennett has named captains to help give this team a bit of a rudder, that they've played the way, for the most part, that he wants them to. Guy takes it off the window. 17, a game high for the sophomore from the Hoosier State. Pritzel with an out-of-rhythm shot, essentially a turnover.
And right now, Greg Gard is going to back off the pressure and play this one out.
Home crowd knows it as well. So Guy coming off a slow performance on Friday where he had just 5. Whoa! Elevator up for Mamadi Diakite. Out of bounds. Last touch by Wilkins. So more games coming up in the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Louisville and Purdue. That's tomorrow night on ESPN. Michigan, North Carolina. I want to see Notre Dame, Michigan State. I think this is another great early season matchup. Notre Dame, as we mentioned, winning games by an average of about 24 points a game. Bonzie Colson has been great. TJ Gibbs has come onto the scene. But Michigan State, look, at number 3, they are a force to be reckoned with. 5 players averaging at least 10 points a game right now.
And not only the scoring, but they are a very good defensive team. That's the thing about Michigan State that impresses me so much. You saw what they did with North Carolina, holding them to 45 points, their lowest field goal percentage game in North Carolina basketball history. So if you can hang that on your hat, then you're getting the job done defensively.
Now, earlier you shied away from talking about Marvin Bagley because you said we could do that all night. Well, we didn't really talk about him, but let's do it now. The last 2 games against Texas and Florida, averaging 32 points and 15 boards. Like, what planet is this dude from?
And the most impressive thing about Marvin Bagley, and when you look at all of the skill and everything, and when you watch him play as a basketball player, there's a lot that he still has to work on. You see it. But how hard he plays and his motor puts him on an elite level, and his ability to rebound translates regardless of whether it's high school, college, NBA, whatever it may be. That's going to translate in any level of basketball that he plays.
And that's Duke and Indiana Wednesday night, 9:30 on ESPN. Jerome has looked a little bit puzzled the last couple of times as the inbounder against pressure.
He has, and of course, you know, Tony Bennett not happy about that. He wants these games to end better for his team than they have, and get an opportunity to look at the Virginia huddle and seeing that staff with Ron Sanchez and Jason Williford and, of course, Brad Soderberg, who was actually stepped in as the head coach at Wisconsin when Dick Bennett stepped away.
Back in 2000.
Absolutely, and so a lot of Wisconsin ties just there on the bench alone, but as I look, I see Jason Williford. I have to make sure I send a special shout out to Larry and Barbara Williford, Jason's parents, celebrating their 46th wedding anniversary today. He made sure that I had to come over and say that. You want to know, Mike? He forgot to send a card. Big foe, he didn't send a card, so he made sure I had to say happy anniversary. So therefore, I get credit for that one, not really him, right?
He's been with Tony Bennett here down 9 seasons, class of 95 from the University of Virginia. Ron Sanchez as well. 9th year also was with Benedict, Washington State. This is a great staff.
It really is, and that's one of the reasons why Virginia has been able to maintain the consistent success. They've been able to keep pretty much everyone together now. Richie McKay has moved on to Liberty and has having a great year. Big win over Wake Forest earlier this season. But outside of McKay, Coach Bennett's staff, including Mike Curtis, his strength and conditioning coach, as well as Ethan Saliba, the trainer, all still together with this group.
Out of the timeout, Jerome, his pass taken away. Kings got to move quickly here. Trice has Diakite's hand in his face, and right in front, Hap dumps it in. He's got 14, and another quick timeout as the shot clock gets turned off. Big day for Kyle Guy. Only 5 points on Friday in Brooklyn. And today a game high 17, 8 of 17 from the floor.
He came out very aggressive, and not just with the 3 ball, but more importantly attacking the rim. Got 2 shots at the rim even before he knocked down the 3 in this game. But more importantly, his ability to run off screens and shoot the basketball. But the development of Kyle Guy this season, you see it right there. The ability to put the ball on the floor and create a shot for himself. And he's going to have to do that night in and night out for this team to be successful. And we talk about Kyle Guy, great evening for him, but you would be remiss if you did not mention the production that Devin Hall was able to put forth for the Wahoos as well. A big night for Devin Hall as well as Kyle Guy.
16 points for Hall. How's this for efficiency? 7 of 10 overall and 2 of 3 from deep for the grad student from Virginia Beach. Pressure situation again here for Ty Jerome to try and get it inbounds after the bucket by half. Well, they made it look pretty easy that time.
Well, that time it did, but it was in a different position. When you're taking it out under the basket in comparison to on the side, that's a little bit different play. But I know that's something that Coach Bennett wants to clean up after this performance.
Virginia staying perfect. The number 18 Cavaliers improved to 7-0. The early tests continue for the Badgers. 4 losses, however, all against top 25 competition. Wisconsin's 3-4, and the ACC with Syracuse and Virginia has the early 2-0 tally in this year's Big Ten ACC Challenge. That's all from Virginia. East 60 Pictures comes up next, but first, let's check in with the studio.